Okay. Um, Mark the date on your calendars. It is Thursday, February 2026.
A very big day.
Yeah, and honestly, just looking at the news feeds this morning, it feels like the tech world just drank 5 espressos and started sprinting.
It really does. The sheer volume of information dropping today is, it's overwhelming.
Because Google just dropped a major update to their entire AI lineup. We are looking at stock market shifts. We've got developer documentation, consumer blog posts.
Right. The CNBC reports alone are a lot to get through.
It is a lot. But before we get into the specs and the speed and all the implications for, the global economy,
Right.
we kind of have to address the banana in the room.
I knew you were going to start there.
I have to. I mean, I literally cannot move forward with this deep dive until we talk about this name.
It's definitely a choice.
They call it Nano Banana too? I mean, come on. We're talking about one of the most sophisticated AI image generation models in human history, backed by DeepMind, powered by the Gemini 3.1 architecture, and they went with Nano Banana.
It is catchy. I will give them that. It sticks in your head.
It sounds like a smoothie flavor. Or a Mario Kart character or something.
It does, but I think the name is, it's a bit of a strategic misdirection.
How so?
Well, it's disarming, right? It sounds fun, maybe even a little silly. But if you look at the technical documentation we've been parsing through this morning, from the CNBC market reports to those really deep in the weeds Google keyword developer blogs, the technology underneath that name is incredibly serious.
That is the exact vibe I'm getting to. And that is really our mission for this deep dive. We are going to move past the funny name and figure out what is actually going on here.
Exactly.
Because looking at these updates, it feels like we are crossing a threshold today. We are moving from AI as a cool toy that makes weird random images to AI is a production-ready tool that works at lightning speed.
That is the perfect way to frame it for our listeners. This isn't just about making better pictures anymore. It is about reliability.
Right.
It is about how businesses and creators actually interact with visual information on a strict deadline.
So let's unpack the banana. Where did this come from? Because this isn't the first time we've heard this name.
No, it's been a very fast evolution. If you rewind just a little bit to August of last year, that is when the original Nano Banana launched. And do you remember that week?
Oh, vividly. It went viral immediately. You literally could not open a social media app without seeing those generations.
Exactly. It redefined how accessible image generation could be because it was so lightweight. Then fast forward to November, and they launched Nano Banana Pro.
The heavy one.
Right. The Pro model was built on Gemini 3 Pro. It was much smarter. It had higher fidelity, better lighting composition, all of that. But, and there is always a view, but in engineering, it was heavier.
It was slow.
It was very slow, and it was computationally expensive.
So as a user, you had to choose. You could either have the fast, fun version that maybe got the fingers wrong sometimes, or the smart, high-quality version that took time to cook.
Precisely. That was the trade-off. It is the classic fast, cheap, or good pick-two dilemma until today. What Google launched this morning, Nano Banana 2, is effectively trying to kill that trade-off entirely. Technically speaking, the model is called Gemini 3.1 Flash Image.
Now, Flash implies speed, but usually when you slap Flash or Turbo on a piece of software, you lose nuance. How did they bridge that gap?
Well, according to the DeepMind papers they released this morning, they have taken the brains of the Pro model, so the reasoning capabilities, the world knowledge, and shoved it into the optimized body of the Flash model.
So they put a Ferrari engine in a go-kart.
In a way, yes. You get the advanced world knowledge and the reasoning capabilities of the Pro version, but it runs at flash speed. Low latency, high quality.
Wow.
You basically no longer have to choose between a good image and a fast image.
And it isn't just sitting in a lab somewhere. Where can people actually use this right now?
Everywhere, seemingly all at once. It is rolling out in the Gemini app, obviously, but it is also powering image generation directly in search. It's in Google Ads for marketing mockups, and it is the new default model in their creative tool called Flow.
I saw a note about Flow in the breakdown. It said free with 0 credits.
That stood out to me, too. Usually these high-end models operate on a credit system because the compute costs are so high for the company.
All right.
So making it free in Flow is a very aggressive move to get people using it right away.
Okay, so that is the what.
Yeah.
It's faster, smarter, and cheaper. But I really want to dig into the why for you listening. Why does this feel different than the 50 other AI updates we have seen in the last 2 years? When I was reading through the feature list, there were a few things that made me go, okay, that is actually useful.
There are definitely some aha moments in the docs. What stood out to you first?
The spelling. the text rendering.
Ah, yes. The classic AI Achilles heel.
It has been the absolute bane of my existence. You ask for a picture of a coffee shop sign that says open, and the AI gives you a sign that says OPEN or OPQN or just alien hieroglyphics.
Yeah, it just guesses.
It ruins the immersion completely because it screams this is fake.
It is a very common frustration. It happens because earlier models were treating text as just shapes.
What do you mean?
To an AI, the letter A was just a triangle with a line, same as a tree or a mountain. It didn't have linguistic meaning. But Nano Banana 2 specifically targets this. It is actually designed to generate accurate, legible text for things like marketing mockups, greeting cards, and signs.
They had this example in the developer blog post that really drove it home for me. It was a native wildlife sign. Did you see that one?
I did. That was a really strong demonstration of the capability.
So first it generates this beautiful naturalistic sign in English asking people to observe wildlife from a distance. It looked like real wood, weather-beaten, the paint peeling a little bit, standard stuff. But then they used the model to localize it to an Indian setting.
Right.
And it didn't just change the background trees to match India. It actually translated the text on the sign into Hindi.
And that is the key part. It is not just pasting text on top of an image like a digital sticker. It is rendering the Hindi text as part of the physical image.
Yeah, it looked embedded in the wood.
Exactly. The lighting hit the Hindi characters correctly. The texture of the wood grain went through the paint.
It looked exactly like a photograph.
That is a massive leap for anyone working in global marketing. Imagine you have an ad campaign. You can now generate the assets for 50 different languages, and every single one looks like it was photographed on location without you leaving your desk.
It's the difference between a bad Photoshop job and a native photograph.
Hmm?
But beyond the text, there is this concept of world knowledge. Now, we hear this buzzword a lot. Our AI knows things. But how is this different from the AI just hallucinating a pretty picture?
This is where we get into something called grounding. And this is fascinating because it changes the very source of the creativity.
Okay.
Usually when an AI draws a picture, it is relying purely on its training data stuff it learned months or maybe years ago. But Nano Banana 2 is connected to the Gemini ecosystem.
Which means?
Which means it can pull real-time information and images from live web search before it starts drawing.
So it is fact-checking its own drawing.
In a way, yes, it is retrieving context. The best example of this is the developer app they showed off called Window Seat.
Oh, I loved this. Explain how that works, because it sounded like magic when I read it.
So imagine you are building an app for your users. The Window Seat app takes your user's GPS location and the live weather data API from their phone. Then it generates a photorealistic view out of a window that matches the actual world outside right now.
So if it's raining in London, the AI draws a rainy London street outside the window.
Wait.
And if it is sunny in Tokyo, it draws sunny Tokyo.
Exactly. It is not just guessing what does a window look like in general. It is using live data to construct a reality that matches the present moment. That is grounding. It anchors the generation in truth.
That opens up so many possibilities for education, too. I saw they mentioned infographics.
Yes, that is another huge application. If you ask it to draw a diagram of the water cycle or compare cloud types like cumulus stratus cirrus, it is not just making pretty clouds anymore.
Right. It has to be scientifically accurate.
Exactly. It is using that world knowledge to ensure the cumulus cloud actually looks like a cumulus cloud scientifically and is placed in the right part of the atmosphere in the drawing. It is prioritizing factual accuracy alongside visual quality.
Which moves it from an art tool to a reference tool.
Correct. And that shift from make something pretty to make something correct is exactly what enterprise users have been waiting for.
But speaking of art tools, there was one feature that I think creators are just going to lose their minds over, and that is subject consistency.
This is the absolute holy grail for visual storytellers.
Because up until now, the biggest problem has been the randomness. If I generated a character, let's say a cool dog in a leather jacket, and then I tried to generate a second image of that same dog doing something else,
Yeah.
the AI would give me a totally different dog.
Right.
Maybe the jacket is different or the spots are in the wrong place.
It was practically impossible to make a comic book or a storyboard because the actors kept changing faces between frames.
Exactly. Randomness was a feature, but also a massive bug. Nano Banana 2 allows you to maintain the identity of up to 5 different characters and 14 distinct objects across different images.
5 characters and 14 objects. That is a full cast. That is an ensemble drama right there.
It really is. They show that example of the fluffy friends building a treehouse. You have 3 distinct animal characters. You can generate 6 different images showing the beginning, middle, and end of the story.
And they stay the same.
Yes, the characters wear the same clothes, they have the same exact fur patterns, they look the same in every shot, even if the camera angle changes or their facial expressions change completely.
And the farm scene, too. 14 different items staying consistent. That means you can actually storyboard a movie or illustrate a children's book without having to be a Photoshop wizard to fix the continuity errors.
It just feels like it removes the friction. You aren't fighting the AI anymore, you are directing it.
It creates a reliable workflow. That is a word that keeps popping up in the developer docs today. Workflow. This isn't just for one-off fun. It is for building large narratives.
Okay, so those are the shiny features for us regular users.
Yeah.
But I want to look under the hood for a minute. We have the developer blog here, and there are some specs that seem pretty intense.
They are. It is clearly built for scale. First off, the speed. We mentioned it operates at flash speed, which means very low latency. But they have also introduced new resolution options.
I saw that. A 512 pixel option. That seems really small in the age of 4K displays. Why would anyone want that?
It is small, but it is strategic. Think about the developer workflow again. If you are building a tool where a user needs to iterate fast, like change the color, move the cat, change the lighting, you don't want to wait for a 4K render every single time.
Right, that takes seconds, maybe minutes.
Exactly. You use the 512 pixel mode for super fast iterations. It is almost real-time feedback.
So it functions like a sketchpad.
Exactly. And then when you are perfectly happy with the composition, you scale it up to 4K for the final polish. It saves a ton of time and computing power.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of canvas sizes, they have unlocked some wild aspect ratios. We're used to squares or 16:9 widescreens. This supports 1:8 and 8:1.
Which is very unusual.
Wait, 1:8? That is like a bookmark.
Or a side banner on a website.
Oh, right.
Or a massive digital billboard in Times Square.
I didn't even think of that.
It shows they are thinking about commercial applications, not just framed digital art. If you need a vertical thin slice for a digital display in a mall, this model can compose for that natively rather than you generating a square and just hoping it looks good when you crop it.
Now, there was one setting in the developer specs that sounded almost philosophical to me. They called it configurable thinking levels. What did that even mean? Does the AI sit and meditate before it draws?
In a way, yes, it does. This is actually a very significant breakthrough in how the model processes a text prompt. Developers can set the model to minimal, which is the default fast mode, or they can set it to high or dynamic.
And why would you want high thinking?
So imagine you give the AI a really complex prompt, something like, draw a group of astronauts playing poker on Mars, but the cards are floating in zero gravity, and the reflection in the astronaut's helmet shows Earth exploding.
Okay, that is a lot of visual information to juggle all at once.
Right. If the model just rushes in with minimal thinking, it might miss the reflection details completely or forget that the card's floating because it is prioritizing speed over comprehension.
Okay.
With high thinking, the model actually pauses to reason through the prompt. It breaks down the complex instructions. It thinks, okay, I need a Mars environment, I need zero-G physics for the cards, and I need specific reflection mapping on the glass of the helmet.
So it actually plans the image before it paints it.
Exactly. It ensures it actually follows those complicated instructions rather than just vibing with the general theme of space.
It measures twice and cuts once.
That is the perfect analogy, and we see this applied in things like that global ad localizer demo we mentioned earlier with the Hindi sign. It needs to think about the translation and the visual context simultaneously.
Or the pet passport demo they showed. That was wild. You take a photo of your actual real-life dog and prompt it to put your dog in front of the Eiffel Tower. The AI has to think about the lighting of the Eiffel Tower, the perspective, and exactly what your specific dog looks like to blend them convincingly.
It is deeply impressive tech. But we should probably zoom out for a second, because Google is not the only shark in this tank.
Not at all. It is a very, very crowded ocean right now.
We have got OpenAI, obviously. They launched Sora back in 2024, which set a huge bar for video generation.
Right. And we have got Adobe integrating Firefly into basically everything creative. We have got ByteDance making moves.
And the demand from users is absolutely massive. I love this quote from Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. He noted last March that the high usage of their tools was literally melting their AI processors.
Melting processors. That really paints a vivid picture of just how hungry the world is for this stuff.
It does. But with that massive hunger comes the controversy. And as impartially as we can look at this, we cannot talk about AI image generation without acknowledging the legal and ethical tension that defines the entire landscape right now.
The copyright issue.
The copyright issue. It is the dark cloud hanging over this whole industry. Just look at the CNBC reports on ByteDance today. They own the C-Dance tool. And right now, they are facing a massive backlash lawsuits from Disney, from Paramount, for IP violations.
Because their AI is generating Mickey Mouse or Iron Man without permission.
Exactly. Or because the models were allegedly trained on copyrighted movies and art without a commercial license. It is a total legal minefield.
So how does Google Nano Banana 2 handle this? Are they just crossing their fingers and hoping Disney doesn't sue them too?
No, Google is taking a much more preventative approach here. They seem to be positioning themselves as the safe enterprise option. The big differentiator they are pushing is Sympathy.
What's that exactly?
It is an invisible watermarking technology. It embeds a digital signal directly into the images, the video, and even the audio generated by their AI. You cannot see it with your naked eye. It doesn't ruin the picture at all. But software can detect it instantly. It essentially screams this file was made by AI.
So if someone tries to pass off a fake news photo as real, there is a technical way to prove it is synthetic.
That is the goal. And they're also using the C2PA content credentials standard.
That sounds like a digital license plate.
It kind of is. It provides a holistic view of the file's history. It shows how the image was made, what specific tools were used, and verifies its origin. It is all about transparency. They want to make sure that as these tools get better, and as we've seen Nano Banana 2 is much, much better, we can still somehow tell the difference between reality and a computer render.
Which is frankly becoming harder and harder to do.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at some of the examples in the dev blog, there was a pop art fashion portrait mentioned. It was a model in an electric blue suit with these bright yellow heart-shaped sunglasses.
I stared at that one for a long time.
The lighting, the texture of the fabric, the reflections in the glasses, it looked exactly like a high-end magazine shoot.
Or even the pencil sketch example of the pufferfish nest. It had that dusty graphite look. It did not look like a computer made it at all. It looked like a human hand sketched it physically on paper.
And that brings us to the summary here. Nano Banana 2 isn't just an iterative update. It feels like a statement to the market. It is saying we can do precision, we can do speed, and we can do it reliably.
It is moving the technology firmly from the fun toy phase to the reliable enterprise tool phase. If you are a business of it, you can now rely on this for your marketing without checking the spelling on every sign. If you're a developer, you can build apps on top of this without fearing the model will go rogue or take 5 minutes to load an image.
But there is a bigger question here, and I want to get your take on this before we close out. We have got tools like Circle to Search, where you just circle something on your phone screen to find it. And now we have this where you type something to create it instantly. It feels like the line between those two things is blurring.
That is the profound shift happening right now. The distinction between searching for an image and creating an image is completely vanishing. In the past, if you wanted a picture of a kangaroo in a raincoat sailing a boat, which, by the way, was one of the actual prompt examples they use today.
A classic search query.
Right. In the old internet, you would search that and find absolutely nothing. Or maybe a really bad cartoon. Now, the search engine doesn't just look for what already exists. It synthesizes what should exist based on your request. We are moving from an era of information retrieval to an era of information generation.
That is a little terrifying, but also incredibly exciting for, creative potential.
It is. And it raises an important provocative question for everyone listening to consider today.
What's that?
Well, if this AI can now actually reason before it draws, and if it has access to real-time world data like live weather and GPS location, and if it prioritizes factual accuracy in things like scientific diagrams, at what point does it stop being an image generator and start becoming a visual reporter?
Oh.
Think about it. If I ask it to show me the traffic on Fifth Avenue right now, and it generates a perfect photorealistic image based on live traffic data, is that art or is that news reporting?
That is the camera that doesn't need a lens.
Exactly.
That is something I'm going to be thinking about all day. Well, on that mind-bending note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive. Whether you are excited to make perfectly consistent comic books about fluffy animals, or you are just a marketer trying to get your signs spelled correctly, Nano Banana 2 is out there waiting for you.
Go give it a spin. It is wild.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye, everyone.